Kimmy, are you ready for a little college football playoff?
I am so excited for this. This is like we're on the dawn of a new era, so I'm excited. 12 teams, let's go.
All right. Well, let's just get into it here with some college football playoff brought to you by the Scribb and Gibb podcast, I would say, huh?
Yep.
One of these days, Gibb, we're going to be up there and they're going to say, right on Pat McAfee's show, hey, the Scribb and Gibb podcast brings you the college football playoff. I mean, wouldn't that'd be your dream?
It would be. There ain't no doubt about that.
Oh, I know. I've never come into a studio before, and all you do is you just stare at Pat McAfee.
Well, I know. I watch him every day.
Yeah, I bet you do.
He does, actually. He's on his TV, I bet.
Well, I know, but I think he watches him in a different way, too, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Maybe the guy's on OnlyFans. Who knows, right?
Oh, my gosh. But we know what Brian would go with.
Wow. All right, well, let's just get into this first year of the college football playoffs. 12 teams, right? So we kind of did a little charity event over there at Newts and Oz Pub here on Sunday, and we got our team, Texas. So
yeah, we do. So we can kind of explain a little bit of that, how that works as we go through it. But, yeah, I'm excited. There's some great matchups. It's going to be a good time.
And we
I
got
love
the
it.
bracket right here.
Here we
so
go.
on
Let's
the
take
first
a look
side,
at
you
it.
got Texas and Ohio State.
No, that would be Tennessee.
Oh, sorry, Tennessee and Ohio State. I couldn't even see it up there. I even know who they have.
Even knows. Come on, let's go.
Good morning, Scribner.
Brain
And
still
on the
frozen?
bottom there, we got Clemson and Texas. So I think, just if you go to the top there, like, I'm not an Ohio State fan, to be honest, but I do think Ohio State has a pretty good chance. It's just interesting to me, the way they played this year, right? And the one thing you got to think about it, guys, right? Like Moose, I mean, I know you're a big Ohio State fan, is they paid $21 million to put this team on the field.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, they're, one of the teams on the outside look, how are they going to get there? They got to win 2 games just to get to the Final Four, and they got to beat Oregon on top of that.
Yeah, which they haven't done. So that'll be very interesting.
But remember, it was a 1-point game there, right? That was a 30-31 game. So that was a good game. So, I think that's a team, Ohio State, if they get right, they could make a run. I do like Tennessee with Josh Heupel. He's done a really nice job there. But I think that's an Ohio State team that if they get hot, they could go on a run. They have the talent, right?
They do have the talent. Right now, as Scores and Odds has the game, Ohio State, Tennessee, they have Ohio State favored by 7.5 right now, Scribb. So what are you thinking on that one? I mean, that game, if you look at this whole bracket and how this whole thing worked out with the conference champions, and I get it, does Arizona State and Boise State deserve a first-round bye? I don't believe so, but it just is what it is, how they set this whole thing up. But it's kind of a tough draw for Tennessee and Ohio State to have to play Oregon right away in the next round. But I'm going to go with Ohio State in that one for sure, Scribb.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that's always interesting about these bowl games is, now this is a little bit shorter, right? You only get about technically a week and 5 days or 6 days, depending if they're playing Friday or Saturday. But they have time, right? My point is they have time to prepare. And it seems like in college football at the bowl games, when these guys have time, you start to see different teams show up, sort of. So I think Ohio State's going to cover. I think they're going to come out after the big Michigan loss and be ready to roll.
Yeah, that was tough, man. We didn't talk much about that. But, yeah, it'll be a tough one. And then, again, people get healthy, too, with a few weeks off, so that's always going to help. So we're going to look at Ohio State there.
And on the bottom there, it's that Clemson-Texas game. Now, what's the spread on the Clemson-Texas game?
Last time I checked it was 11, which is tough because there's the charity event that we had taken a look at. You have to actually win. You have to beat the spread, not just the team. So it's 11 points is a lot right now versus a decent.
To it, right?
Yep, so it's 11.5.
Clemson's playing decent right now.
Yeah, they are. They're playing pretty. I mean, they beat was it SMU? They beat. In the conference championship. So
now SMU did come back, and I think SMU is a decent team. We'll get to them too. But I think the thing about Clemson is it's been their defense that they've relied on most of the year, right? And when that defense isn't playing up to snuff, they're beatable. Now you bring in a Texas team that's pretty high-powered, right? I mean, you got Nick Ewers there. I mean, for a quarterback, he's one of the top picks most likely in the draft. And then if he goes down, you got Archie Manning, right?
Right.
And they brought Manning in at times to do more running if they need to. So I do think, in reality, Texas is a good team. I mean, they're right on the cusp of being one of the top 4.
Coming off a tough loss to Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean.
Overtime loss. So.
And that was a great game. And think about Georgia, right? Their quarterback going down.
Yeah.
They get the number 2 seed because of winning the conference. But their to my knowledge, Beck is out. And they're playing with another 4 or 5 star
I think
guy.
he broke his arm or tore it tendon or something like it. It wasn't good. Yeah, and then the 5-star guy came in. I can't remember off the top of my head. Is it Standard or something? And I can't believe he still has his head.
I know. Did you see that hit,
We were
Moose?
going to take a look at that hit, but man alive, he took a massive hit right at the end of the game. And I was able to talk after the game. But that was one of the most violent college hits I have ever seen. But yeah, and then actually Beck had to come back in and hand the ball off to win the game. So it was a gritty performance by Beck for sure to come back in that one. But yeah.
But if you get back to it, I do think. I mean, I don't know yet. I'm still going on it. I don't like that the spread has gone up actually
It
since
has
we last
half
talked.
a point since the last time we
I
talked.
feel
so.
like that's really a tough spread. I mean, I think I'm going to pick Texas here to win. I'm not convinced they're going to cover it.
It's going to be a tough cover.
11's a big number.
We need
in
them to cover.
I know we do.
Yeah, we need them to
going
cover.
through our picks this year, which was kind of fun. 11 is a lot to cover, even in a good and a bad team.
I know it is. That's what I'm saying. So you got the ACC champions versus Texas. It's tough.
That's
It's
what
gonna
I
be. It's
mean,
11 points is a lot. The over/under is 53.5. So obviously they're expecting some points to be scored, but that's going to be a tough one.
This is the game, though. If Texas wins, I like them against ASU.
Yeah,
and
I do
that's
too.
the thing. If we can get the first win, or if Texas can win, we can get them to move on into that top. And I think they can get into the top 4 where you want to be, right?
Yeah,
So
and
that
probably
is-
looking at an Oregon-Texas matchup, which would be amazing.
yeah, I mean, that would be phenomenal. I think that's what a lot of people would want to see. All right, but you get over to the other side
Yeah,
now.
let's
This
take a look
is
at my
interesting.
side. The first game that's going to be broken down this year, the first bowl game is going to be Indiana-Notre Dame.
A
So
little
they're
bit
gonna
of
be playing-
like same state there, right?
Yeah, it is. Playing on the 20th at 7 o'clock.
Geography, it's too early for that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
had to think about it for 2
It
seconds.
is the same state. I knew that. Right now, Dame is going to be favored by 7.5. That
Dame,
line,
huh?
that-
You
Notre
you're
Dame. Yeah.
Oh,
hey,
I thought you said
I'm a-
Dame.
we're-
I didn't know if you're on just their. I mean, you're part of the team.
Yeah, I mean, we're part of we're on a nickname basis here. So actually, that line has gone down. I think money is going on Indiana. Indiana's a good team, 11-1. Obviously, kind of got their lunch handed to them by Ohio State. But I tell you what, they're a good football team, very well coached. Love that coach. What do you think there? That's going to be a tough one. That'll
What's the
Notre
spread?
Dame's a good team.
They are. They're better than I think people want to give them credit for. I mean, they're sitting there at 11-1.
Every year they can't gain traction in the polls, and I think they're a really good team though this year. That's just solid all around.
Well, and Brian loves the fact that they're not in conference. He loves Notre Dame.
Look at him
Brian
over there.
Scribb loves Notre Dame. He loves the fact that they're not in a conference.
Well, I mean, let's just talk about it. You know, you got these teams out there. They're ripping on the Power 5, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, SMU, for example, can't be a top 4. Big 12, they got to be the top 4, et cetera, and all this thing going on. But yet, it's okay that Notre Dame is in there at 11-1. Who did they lose to? Northern frickin' Illinois.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody cares. Oh, put them up there. Well, who else did they play? They
Yeah.
played all the military teams, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And bad, like teams that used to be at the forefront, like USC,
Yeah.
Stanford used to be very good football teams, and now are not. So, I
that's
think
my problem is everybody's like, they're good. They
So
don't
we
need
have
to play.
2 teams that didn't play a whole lot going at
Well,
it for the
no,
first game.
Indiana's a little bit different because they are in a conference, and now this year, to me, right? I mean, the one thing about playing in the Big Ten in any conference, right? It's the luck of the draw. But I'm telling you, you're still playing. And we've talked about all the time. You get into conference, it's different. I go back to Penn State. They came in. For a while there, when they were an independent, they used to win all the time. They were always 10-1, 11-1, or whatever. Back in the day, they get in the conference, and how many times have they won the Big Ten?
Right.
Not very often,
Right.
because they get knocked down. But you get used to playing, right? I mean, it's just that conference thing.
It's
what
true.
there's a reason why there's conferences, right? And
Right.
you just think about the big rivers. You can just go back as simple to where we play, like. Whether we're good or not, the team is going to show up. You know how they perform. Go to like Chip, right? Chip runs that offense, or Rice Lake, for example.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have the best athletes, it's still tough to defend, even though you know what they're going to do,
Even
right?
like- even
Because
like-
they
yeah.
know how to defend every year against you or do it a little bit different. I think that's the thing that people miss, and that's why I'm not high on Notre Dame.
Yeah.
In Indiana, I'm with you as a good team. I mean, remember they started out hot against Ohio State, kind of, right? Going down,
they
scoring.
did.
And then that
That
fumble.
punt hurt them. So we're gonna go with Indiana in that game then.
I would go with this. Any team but Notre Dame.
Okay. So,
North Dakota State, I would go.
all right. So let's take a look at that next matchup then for Indiana or Notre Dame. You're obviously Georgia. Very, very, very tough. But the quarterback situation that they're in right now is a little bit different. Yes. Again, you're just plugging in another 5-star, but very explosive. Georgia always has such a tough defense too. So whoever they face, whether it be Indiana, Notre Dame, they're going to have their hands full there in the second round. Let's go on down to the SMU Penn State game. Taking a look at that one, going to be played at 11 a.m. Boy, what a day for college football on the 21st. If you need to find me, I will be on a couch. It's 11 a.m. We got the SMU Penn State right now. Penn State favored by 8.5. Scrib, what do you got on that one?
I'm taking SMU.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. I think that they're.
No,
you gotta remember,
against the spread, or you?
I think they're going to win.
You're just outright. They're going to win that football game.
I haven't been that high on Penn State. I think Penn State's a pretty good. I know they're a good team playing in the Big Ten, but there's something about SMU that I like. I like their coach, the moxie that they bring to the game, and the one thing right there, Texas.
Yeah.
I just think they got athletes, and I just think this is one where in big games, Penn State hasn't done well traditionally under their coach. What's his name? Can't think of it now. Jay. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And I think this is where definitely deserving to be in here, right? 100%. I just think that this is an SMU team that's going to catch them. They're coming off a tough loss to Clemson. I like them. I just,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, out of these 4 first games, there's going to be a major, I don't want to say major upset, but there's going to be something. And this is the one I'm calling. I think it's going to be SMU. I don't know. Something about them that I like.
Okay. I'm going to go with Penn State, and not only Penn State to win, but Penn State to cover. So that'll be one, Scrib, that we'll see. And then they got to go in and face a decent running back in round 2. And Genty, what do you think about him, the Heisman hopeful? That he is a stud. I haven't seen a college running back. And now we can talk about is it Charbonneau or something like that? He's from, I want to say, Arizona State or something.
Jack Charbonneau.
No, not Jack Charbonneau. No. He's the center
guy
for the Richmond Tigers. No, I get that. Jack's a stud too. But no, I can't. I'll look him up here as we're talking, Scrib, but he's a stud running back. But anyway, Genty, that he's going to have a heck of an NFL career. There ain't no doubt about it right now. I mean, he could break the all-time rushing record. He's probably going to catch Melvin Gordon for sure. And then Barry Sanders, the old my favorite of all time, well, at least running back of all time.
What is interesting about Gentry is they're talking about the Heisman, right? And they're kind of saying it's probably Travis Hunter's to lose, right? And then they're talking about Gentry. But you compare his stats. He has 1 less carry than Melvin Gordon. And Gordon has like a couple more 100 yards.
Yeah.
And think about that. So it's amazing like how good Gordon's season was, and we forget. And he got second in the Heisman. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Monty Ball, I read some stuff like he said the Heisman Trophy process, the credibility of it got lost when Melvin Gordon didn't win it. And I think this is another one where Gentry, every game he played in, they played some good teams this year. I know they're in a little bit different conference, but they played some good teams, and he did awesome. And he's just, man, he runs hard, right? I mean, it's kind of like you said, you just can't tackle the guy.
Yeah, and so back to what I was saying before. So you got Genty at 24, just about 2,500 yards. Scatabo was the Arizona State running back. Now he does have considerably less rushing yards than Genty, but Genty's got 344 carries versus 263 for Scatabo, and Scatabo also has he's very good out of the backfield in regards to catching the football as well. So he's a stud there. So it'll be interesting to see Scatabo in the hopefully versus Texas as Texas moves on to the next round. But that'll be an interesting matchup there, whether it be Penn State or SMU in that Boise State game. So it's good for the Boise State program. They've been around for a long time.
They've always been on the cusp of doing a lot of things.
Yeah, and I'm glad they got in. I think they're good for college football. I think they got a great fan base.
Who wouldn't want to?
Yeah,
it's a blue field.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's the only thing that is sort of a bummer, right, is they don't get that home game.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Because I would like now Penn State. The one thing I did read about Penn State is they have an advantage with having that home game against SMU. That stadium, I've been there. It's crazy. I mean, that thing is massive, right? You're in the hills.
Like 112?
Yeah, it's crazy. They're going to do a whiteout, so it's going to be
it'll be a
huge
very
It's going to
environment.
be cold. You're going up to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the Texas boy's got to travel
Yeah.
on that. And he's got about, I just looked it up too, he's got over 500 yards receiving. So I just think he's like, they said he's very much like a Christian McCaffrey. So he'll have a good NFL career as
Overrated?
well. So,
I'm just kidding. I'm just
maybe
Wow.
right now he could
I'm
be
just
because he
kidding.
can't stay healthy. But, man, yeah, so it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be a great college football playoff. We'll continue with these matchups, and yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, I wanted to go to one thing here.
What? Let me ask you guys a question. while
Yeah.
Scribner's looking something up. What do you think about the way the playoff structure ended up actually happening?
It was
Did
good.
did the top 12 teams get in, or do you have to keep it fair? It's no different than the six. Like, I'm a big basketball guy, right? You
Yeah.
get into the 64 bracket, and you're getting. Is it the top 64 teams? It really isn't, because you have all these small conferences. If you win, you're in, right?
Yep.
And so they're getting in. Do you feel that way with the 12 teams for football? I mean, you can't go any bigger, I don't think.
Well, that's a great point, Moose, because I think in some of those college, well, at least in the 64 for the college basketball, I feel like the teams that didn't get in are probably some of your lower tier teams anyways. They're not ones that are probably going to push for a national title.
No, they might win a game or be a
Yeah,
sellout.
at least maybe give some of those upper echelon teams a little bit more run for their money. But you look at teams like Alabama
Yes.
and in Miami that did not get in. Now you get Alabama team, I think, could beat anybody on this board. So that is that's a great question, because they have, again, it gives lots of talk time for TV right now.
That's
because,
what it does. I
yeah.
mean, and it's never going to be fair. You're never
Well,
going to get the top 12 teams,
no.
but they had to have some kind of structure in. If you're going to be wrong, be strong. And they went into it like, this is how we're going to do it. So
Yeah.
Boise State gets in,
And to buy.
Yeah,
Well,
and to buy just because of what they won.
Now, the one thing I read about Saban, he obviously had his opinion of Alabama getting out, and he's like, hey, all these big teams are, hey, the fans want to see Alabama, Wisconsin, right? We do. We want
Yep.
to see it. And he's like, well, why are we playing them games if they don't matter, if they don't take the strength of schedulers? Well, I would agree with him, but the one thing that he missed out really big in that statement is Wisconsin's down. And, oh, by the way, you didn't lose to Wisconsin. You lost to your conference foes. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to, was it South Carolina? So don't tell me that, is the SEC tough? Hell yeah. Like, I totally agree. But again, all you got to do is win one of those games and they're in. So, Caleb DeBoer, new coach, sort of a friend of the show here, right? But at the end of the day, if they just win one of those three games, we're not having this conversation about Alabama. So I think what I like about it is I get the point of the strength of schedule. Does Alabama play a tougher than SMU? But let's also remember who they played non-conference. They played Wisconsin down. Now, that's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
But every game, who do they play before Auburn? Every game.
It was something like
It's the same damn team every year. It's Mercer.
Mercer.
Yep,
yeah.
Mercer before
So-
it.
It's like they were talking about that. They're like, put that, because they have is it the SEC that has one less conference game than the Big Ten, right? And they always play Mercer. They're
always play Mercer
They're like,
before
don't
Auburn.
put a cupcake in before Auburn. Go put a go put a Power 5 team in there or something like that.
So,
Well, and that's, again, back to Alabama. I know you look at them, losing to Oklahoma was their other big loss, 24-3 again. But now you turn around and they beat LSU 42-13. Missouri, that was very tough for a long time. I think they were a top 10 team for a while.
where's LSU and Oklahoma? now?
34 rip.
But LSU and Oklahoma are nothing right now.
Well, I get that, but I'm just saying when
I
they
get it.
get hot, they're still good football teams. And again, LSU, you take a look at the teams that they did lose to. I mean, they're still a good football team. I mean,
I'm not saying that, but they lost to Vanderbilt, right? They lost to Oklahoma and lost to South Carolina. They
Yeah.
didn't lose to the top 2 or 3 teams in the SEC, right?
Or
You
even
know, I
yeah,
mean,
well,
they
and they were murdered at one time. They murdered Georgia. They were up 21
28
rip or
Yeah.
28
Yeah.
to 7 or
But
something
again,
like
they
that.
didn't finish it, right? I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm with you that if there's a team that got left out, but also Miami had a chance. I mean, Miami played really well too. I mean, they really did. That's a good team. But I think that's what we were coming down to is like, I think Nick Saban's point is okay. But again,
would it look different if he was still coaching?
I don't think they would have lost 3 games.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah,
against
I mean-
Jalen DeBoer, but you're bringing in a new offense, just a whole new thing. So I think there's just
You're
a little
probably
bit of and I think what DeBoer is going to do down there is going to be great. It's just going to take a year. I think it's just getting into the SEC and getting used to that. But I
Getting
just think
his
it comes
system in
down
place.
to, it just comes down to if you don't give these other teams an opportunity, why have 12 teams? I mean, I think that's the thing is we don't like. I personally don't want to see the same teams every year. But if you're SMU and you go out and you lose one game, you should be in the top 12. I just don't understand how that's not.
The
part
only
of it.
thing, like, so here's my take on it, right? My only thing is I'd like to see more of a 16-team bracket rather than a 12 with a bye. I know you get rewarded for a bye, right? But it's not long. It's the same amount. You just have every team playing every week, right? There's no byes. Because what ended up happening with the bye is Boise State ended up getting a bye. Do I truly believe that they deserve it?
Right.
I'm not 100%. Texas should have gotten a bye.
Hey, hold on. Who's Boise State's one loss?
Who is it? I don't remember.
Oregon. They had them beat.
Oh,
They had them beat.
so
I mean that is
but
their
back to
loss.
strength of schedule, right? So that's what I look at as well. So like that's my take on it. Whether you're right or wrong,
If you
rather
do 16 is the most you can do. But
that's what I mean. If you bumped it up to 16, it's just like a 64 bracket. There's no buys. It's you're starting to play, and you got to play every week, just like you do throughout the whole week.
You
or
just
the
get
whole
really
schedule.
I mean, then you're getting into is this 3-loss SEC team better than this 4? That's
I
the
hear you.
only
I
thing.
understand. But you know what? You can make it 32, and guess
Yeah.
what? You're still
You're
going
still
to have
gonna have
bubble
people.
teams, so
Yeah.
it's whatever.
So just to clear it up a little bit. So Alabama had lost to Vanderbilt, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. So and Tennessee beat them 24-17. Tennessee obviously in the bracket playing Ohio State. But South Carolina game they squeaked out. It was 27-25. It's a tough one, but
That's what I
but
mean.
still,
Like they
it's-
didn't lose. Their non-conference schedule, their strength of schedule, all that stuff didn't cost them. They lost games that they were predicted to win, and they lost games within their conference. And I mean, you just win one of them, you're in. And I think that's where Nick Saban's like, well, we don't need to go play Wisconsin. Well, at the same time, they're taking strength of schedule in. I mean, Boise State went out and played Oregon. They could have not played Oregon and played somebody else and be 12-0.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think some of these other teams are playing. And I also think you're going to say Boise State should be XYZ. Well, why is Notre Dame there? I mean, I'll always come back to that. If you're not going to be in a conference, all these teams will jump out of a conference and just play the 12 teams
which
they
is why you
want.
got to go strength of
And
schedule.
let's flip the bracket on the other side. Rather than say, hey, do you like the way it's set up? And like I said, be wrong, be strong. This is way better than what we had before.
I agree. There's no doubt
I
about
like
it.
it way back in the day when it was just
One bowl game,
Yeah,
like
one bowl game, and they
we're gonna
argue all
pick
year long.
Travis's team and
Yeah.
Brian's
I
team, and you
kinda-
guys play for the national championship.
I don't know.
I think one of the best things that can happen this year, being the 12-team playoff already, is one of those teams that we're discussing right now need to do well. So I should say one of the three. So you're looking at SMU, Boise, and Arizona State.
You can
If
make it
one of those.
You can make
teams
it 4. I would put Notre Dame in there.
Yeah, Notre Dame could be in there,
But
just
Arizona
to piss
State,
Brian off. But I
the
get
only
that.
thing,
But,
the thing about Arizona State is they did win the Big 12, and now the Big 12 is a little bit different.
and they were
with-
picked last, by the way.
Yeah, with
so it's a little
teams-
bit almost like the Tigers this
Yeah.
year. We were picked.
But the
sixth
same
in
thing, Brian. Back up quick, or Scrib. Sorry, I
Yeah.
got your first names down.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. They won the Big 12, but yet all of a sudden they end up with a bye.
Yeah, and the funny thing is who is not in the Big 12 this year? Texas.
Texas
And who will they play most likely? I
Hopefully.
mean, hopefully,
Right, yeah,
hopefully
Texas.
was just kind of funny, right?
by 12.
Let's hope Texas covers the spread, right?
Yeah,
Right,
I'm with you.
boys?
Yeah,
That's what we need. That's what
God,
we need.
We need that for sure.
But yeah, we got some good college football games coming on. Like we said, the first one's going to be your Indiana Notre Dame on the
No,
in
that
the
is not
20th.
your first one.
Well, it's not your
Your
first college
one.
bowl game. It's
Hey,
coming
no,
up.
I'm telling you, your first one is this
South
Saturday.
Alabama.
This Saturday.
College bowl game.
Bethel.
Bethel plays
Oh, it
over.
is?
Hometown Joey Kidder in Pennsylvania playing Saskatchewani or something.
Yeah, that's
Fourth-
true.
fourth round.
They had
Hey.
they had a big upset, and the team they're playing upset St. John's. If I'm
St.
not.
John's. So, hey,
Good
Kidders,
luck, Joey. If you're
luck to
listening to
Joey
this,
Kidder,
or
so-
anybody,
Yep.
send
Let's
some
talk to
luck
Todd on
to-
Monday and
to Joey, and
Yeah,
no.
that's going to be awesome. So, again, that's
hopefully we
your-
can pick that game up.
Oh,
I
it's
think they-
ESPN Plus?
Yeah,
Yeah,
ESPN
heck
Plus
yeah.
will be able to pick that game up. So
Yeah, I mean, I was going to watch Wisconsin football. Yeah, we'll be watching Bethel. All right, let's wrap it up. That's your college football playoff. Again, brought to you by Scrib and Gib Podcast here in the Lindis Construction Studio. I mean, there's the bracket, Gibby. We'll see who ends up. We'll probably talk in a couple weeks. We'll wrap it up for the first week, and then we'll see where we're at second week.
and we'll always interject some of the Newts and Oz, the charity game that we'll be playing here throughout the bowl.
And if you can't
playoff.
tell, go Texas.
Go Texas.
And just as we're going to leave it on this note, just so everybody is aware, Moose, is still not on the Viking train at 11-2.
All right.
Guys,
Take
landed
that
on
to the bank.
You ever been stung by a bee? Multiple times, just in the same spot? I mean, that's
Right
we're
above
just-
your heart.
Yeah, we're good.
All right.
Hey, I just thought it might be the diamond in the rough.
Oh,
All right,
sucker.
that's it. Everyone have a great day.
Who are you?
I'm Scrib.
And I'm Gib, and we got Moose on the loose.